Well, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when people see this.
Good morning or noon, whatever.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Hello, so good to have you guys here. So wonderful. So today is May the 4th. And so may the 4th be with you. I guess we can say that. But it's so fascinating to watch what's going on in the world. The gyrations of those who listen to the voice of the ego is absolutely amazing. And for those who now, obviously, I fully understand why Jesus said some of the things that he said. For example, one of the things that I thought, that's kind of weird. It didn't make sense to me, early on, but now it makes perfect sense. But when Jesus said, let those who have ears hear and those who have eyes see, I was like, duh, everybody sees, everybody hears. And it wasn't until I moved pretty further along on this journey, like gained a lot more spiritual maturity, that I realized that what we hear through our ears and see through our eyes, when it is of the ego, it actually serves to blind and make us deaf. It's like, well, we're not really hearing the truth, we're not seeing the truth. So to have eyes to see means that you have to pull the veil off of your eyes. You have to pull what you've been told is the truth, pull that information back, peel it back, and look for the actual truth. The same with the ears to hear. Just because we grew up believing stories doesn't mean that they're true, but because we agree with them, they tend to be the truth. And right now in America, we're going through a little interesting gyration. And as I was sitting in contemplation and asking God, okay, what would you have me talk about today? Thinking, well, we're going to talk about being light. We're going to talk about something fun and fluffy. And I was told, no, we're going to talk about choice. We're going to talk about understanding what choice is all about. And I was like, controversial topics. It's like, do I not get a break? I've been a good student. I've been a good, steward of all this wonderful information that is given to me. I like to just come in here on Wednesdays and just have fun. But no, we're going to talk about choice. And of course, those who understand what's going on in the US with the leaking of the information that the Supreme Court is going to overthrow the Roe versus Wade ruling. I think it was 50 years ago. Let me
I see it that way, and
I mute wherever some noise is coming from. Okay. Anyhow, so when we are operating in alignment with God, it's because we've opened our ears and opened our eyes to see beyond what the world is telling us is true. And we are coming to discover the truth of it ourselves. And interestingly enough, the more we move down this path of really understanding the truth, to open our ears to hear the real truth, to open our eyes to see, and I say the real truth, the truth, to open up our eyes to really see it, you begin to see how everything is so simple. Everything falls into two camps, and that's it. Everything is either love expressing itself, where everything is in union, everything is in collaboration, cooperation, co-creation, or it falls onto the camp of fear. And fear is where we're operating with illusion. We're making shit up. We are deciding things based on what's best for me, not for you. We operate in hierarchy because I say so. We operate in greed. I want to get my piece of the pie. I'm going to take it from you because I don't want to be without. Zero consideration for anybody else, only for what's best for me. And those who operate from fear work really hard to get their group together. Those who operate from love, you don't have to work hard to get your group together. You're one with all that is. You live and let live, because whatever you do is always going to be for the greater good of all, because you are seeing things exactly as they are, because you're seeing with the eyes of God, the eyes of Christ, the eyes of the soul, the eyes of love, the eyes of the heart. Doesn't matter how many ways we say it, you are seeing what is there from a place of knowing you're one with it. There's nothing else. The world has been operating, as we know, for thousands of years from fear, from hierarchy, from specialness, my way or the highway. Only the rich get richer. Only the special people get, promotions, and they get to have what they want. Everybody else, we're the lows of the lows. That lie has perpetuated something that has moved into the need for having something like a Supreme Court, where we need to have, and listen to this, because this is where it gets so crazy. In a country of millions of people, I think the US has 350 million, maybe 400 million by now. We pick a handful of people to make decisions for everybody else. Not only that, we pick one president to kind of decide for everybody else. But it wasn't designed that way. It was designed for these people to represent the will of the people. And literally, they should be polling everybody and the majority should win. That's technically what this republic was founded on, is that the people have a say, and these people that we appoint to manage that, they are doing the will of the people. But the will of the people has not been done in this country almost from the beginning, because we have been operating from fear. We have been operating from ego. We have been operating from specialness, from thinking we know better than anybody else. And because we have been conditioned into believing that's from the get-go. I mean, you're born, you land out of your mother's womb, and you're in that hospital. The lies begin right away. The lies begin when we are told that this is who we are, this is our ethnicity, this is our status, this is the way to, you're going to be healthy, you got to come to these hospitals. And we begin to be told what the truth is, and those layers of misinformation begin to form a veil over our ears, a veil over our eyes, and we think that it is true. And because I have a social security number, then I must be a US citizen who is going to be taken care of by the government, because, I belong to the government. Oh, there's a little partial truth to that. But we have got to get really clear that there is absolutely no way to experience what real love is and all of the perks that come with that until we question every possible way in which we have blocked love. But to really question how we block love, we've got to get really, really honest about our fears. And most people, I don't know about you, but most people don't go to the bar and sit down and talk about their fears. We talk about, our promotion, or maybe our cheating husband or our cheating wife. We may talk about that, but we're talking about what boosts us up. We're showing off. We've got to talk about these fears. We have to talk not only about the fears, but why do we use fear to attempt to communicate, to attempt to run a country, to attempt to run a Supreme Court. We've got to get comfortable with talking about fear, because fear is really the root of all evil. Specifically, our ego mind is where it all starts. And here's the interesting thing. If you stop believing in your ego would have no power over you. But the ego only has power to make us afraid because we don't face that aspect of ourselves with honesty, to question the fear, to question the belief, so that we can release a belief that acts like a barrier over our eyes, that acts like a block to our listening clearly. And it's not just so that we listen clearly to what other people are saying, it's so that we can hear clearly the voice for God that gives us the truth. Because the truth is only found inside. And when you know the truth, you live by the truth and you become an example of the truth. You cannot go anywhere out there to learn truth. You go out there to see how you're deceived, and you come in here to feel truth, to align with it, to know it for yourself, and then to make an agreement with yourself that you're not going to be afraid of the truth. But we have been made afraid of the truth because the lies that we have been sold sound really kind of exciting and sound, they're shiny. They put us in a trance. That's why we have to transcend our ego, because we are literally in a trance. And when you're in a trance, you can be absolutely controlled. So before we get into that conversation, I wanted to check in with you. Is what I'm saying making any kind of sense? Or have you experienced something similar in your life where you had to peel away what you thought was true before you got to the actual truth? And to get to that truth, you had to go through some of your fears and begin to say no to those fears, because the world is right now poised for an incredible opportunity where we are about to end a cycle. We're about to end a stage of humanity. And to be able to move into what is new, then we have to face the fears, face the blocks, face the very things that get in the way for us to move forward. So has anybody here had any experiences with A Course in Miracles that it has helped you look at your fears, face them in an honest way, and transcend them because you got empowered with the truth? If you have, go ahead and unmute yourself and share an example or two. And if not, we'll just jump right into this reading. There you go. I can see you, Kat.
And I'm on here twice. I have no idea why. You see, I'm down below. I'm here.
Don't worry about it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, the Course in Miracles, and you're teaching about the shifting. It all goes together. So it's helped me so much when I step into fear and just anxiety or whatever. That's the same thing, self-fear. When I step into that, it's allowed me to go within and just stop, just sit down, almost like meditating, and just speak with my higher self. Like, what's behind this? Where did I pick this up? And am I willing to keep suffering with this? And knowing that I don't deserve to suffer. So it's helped me enormously in so many things. And it's helping me now with my current issues. It's really helping me to feel into feeling better, and the commitment to waking up in a day and intentionally setting that I will be peace. Peace will begin with me on this day. I'm not perfect with it, yet it's such a wonderful tool, and I use it every day. So I'm very grateful.
Love that. Love that. You know, and two things that doing what you've done, what you're doing, and I'm not perfect either. I mean, I'm still practicing. I am practicing what I teach. That's why I teach it, so that I can remind myself of the truth on a regular basis. Two things that you said, you know, one, it takes courage to face those fears. I mean, it's not easy to admit, oh my God, I've been wrong. I've been doing this wrong. I've been believing things that are not true. I've been believing things that make me fearful. I'm the source of that fear. And then it takes that commitment to stick with it, to reverse that process, because the mind has to be trained in a new habitual way of thinking before that becomes the norm. So we have to train the mind. That's why the Course in Miracles is called A Course in Mind Training. So thank you so much for sharing that. If anybody else wants to share, go ahead and please do so. And then we're going to jump into what came to me to share today, and to tie it to what's happening with this potential, or this leak of this potential overturning of Roe versus Wade, which is what allows women to have the freedom to have abortions in the United States. Okay, I don't see anybody trying to unmute, so then I'm just going to go ahead and get started. But if you have something you want to share, by all means, put a comment in the chat, and then I'll come to you. All right, so first of all, let me share where this is coming from. This is coming from the text in the Course in Miracles, and we are in chapter 16. Chapter 16 is the forgiveness of illusions. So clearly we are talking about letting go of what's been made up. That's what an illusion is, something that's make believe. And when you make it make believe, then you believe that this thing is true. So the section that we're reading is section number 5, and the title of it is The Choice for Completion. When I was guided to that, and I at my first reading, I thought, what does this have to do with abortion? But I trust that I'm always led to where I'm supposed to go, and I'll tie it together for you. But one of the important things is that as you read this, you may think that this just only has to do with special love relationships, and it's not just that. But it is that, you know, it is that because it's all love or fear. There's nothing else. Once you're on either side, once you're on the love side, your frequency emanates a certain quality that attracts to you people who operate at that level. And from that level, we don't have to agree on information. We live by it, and everybody operates in the same freedom because we come from the awareness that we experience the same union. When we are not operating at our highest frequency, at our optimal integrity with God's word, we descend into different levels of truth. So we might be operating at 50% truth, 40% truth, 20% truth, 10% truth, but it doesn't matter because all of those are blocks to the whole truth. So why would you settle for 20% truth when you could have 100% truth? Well, the only way we settle for 20% truth is when we're listening to the voice of the ego, and we need to be right about what we've been told is so. And in this area, our fears kick in. We're susceptible to being anxious. We're susceptible to being off balance because we don't have all the truth to be grounding us and creating a solid foundation for our beliefs. So we listen to what different people say, and our, we can be swayed. We can be pulled into supporting one thought system, even if it's incorrect, because it gives us a sense of specialness. Oh yeah, they care about me, so I'm gonna agree with what they're saying is true for me. Well, this is what happens to children because they don't know any better. Their minds are filled with information that over time generation after generation, incarnation after incarnation, we are all basically dumbed down away from the truth of God, and we operate in fear. There's no other way to go. When you block love, you block light, you operate in fear because darkness is all that's left. Whether it's 20% darkness or 80% darkness, it doesn't matter. You cannot see clearly because there is a block. So as I read this again, this is going to sound like special, like couple relationship, but this is really about all relationships. So use the broader understanding, and then you'll be able to see how this affects every relationship of your life. Be they romantic, be they with children, with your parents, with your neighbors, with your government, with the group that you associate with, your political affiliation, your religious beliefs. This affects everything. And I want you to have the ears to hear and the eyes to see the broader implications, because the people who wake up are the ones who are able to see the broader implications. And it is crucial that we give ourselves permission to not let our ego pull us into our own personal issue and let it become the broader implications, because there's so much more there. All right, so let's read from this. If you have the third edition, it's going to be page 341. And that is, again, in the text, we are in chapter 16, and we are in section number 5, and we're going to start with paragraph number 1. So in looking at the special relationship, it is necessary first to realize that it involves a great amount of pain. Anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack all enter it, broken into by periods in which they seem to be gone. All these must be understood for what they are. Whatever form they take, they are always an attack on the self to make the other guilty. This is Jesus speaking. I have spoken of this before, but there are some aspects of what is really being attempted that have not been touched upon. So Jesus has been telling us about special relationships, the danger of special relationships, because that's what the ego does to us. It finds one special person, one special religion, one special political party, one special football team. And that's the one that is, that's the bomb. That's it. That's the best one, the special one. And I belong to it. And once you belong to that special one, you now consider yourself to have the right to look at that one. And when they don't do what you want them to do, it's their fault. That's just the way the ego operates. It's going to attack that person. You made me unhappy. You didn't select me. And now my life is miserable, but it's your fault. Never me. It's your fault. Because the ego does not operate in the light of truth. It operates with misinformation created from a sense of self that doesn't know its own wholeness. And if you don't know you're whole, and you believe, like the movies tell us, that you need Jerry Maguire to complete you, then when Jerry Maguire leaves, you feel like you've been left with a hole. Well, if you knew you were whole to complete, if you understood your wholeness from the get-go, you would recognize that people, governments, football teams come into your life. They come and they go. Things come and they go. You don't become attached, because the minute you're attached, you create a codependent relationship that puts the pressure on the other person to make you feel okay. That gives you the illusion that you're not okay without that team, without that that political party, without that person as the justice in the Justice Department, the Supreme Court, that you're lost. So understanding that we have been conditioned since the get-go by people who were misinformed into believing that there's something lacking in us, that then we've got to go out into the world and get a job so we can become, so we can acquire, so we can get a partner, so we can get the right position at the, in the Supreme Court or whatever it might be. Without getting that, then I'm not okay. I'm not whole. We were born whole, and it takes about 12 to 16 years, schooling years, to make us forget the truth of who we are, so that then we really believe that there's something, not only we have a hole that needs to be filled, but I'm the perfect one to complete you too. And we enter into these crazy relationships that are absolutely, completely delusional. And they're not fun. They feel like fun when we're picking at each other, or when things are good. And it tells us in here that those relationships cause a great amount of despair, anxiety, guilt, and attack. But they're broken up by periods in which it seems to be gone. We get along. If the 7-year itch comes around, and then all of a sudden everything, all hell breaks loose. And then you got a couple, you kiss and make up, and you got a couple of periods where it works. You get the political party you don't want. It's all hell. It's horrible. Then you get your president, and now some, oh yeah, we got 4 years of freedom, but then they don't win. Oh my God, back to suffering again. So we are constantly going up and down because we don't understand who we are. Paragraph 2. So very simply, the attempt to make guilty is always directed against God. And I'm going to expand on this because this is really important that we understand this. For the ego would have you see him and him alone as guilty, leaving the sonship, each of us, open to attack and unprotected from it. The special love relationship is the ego chief weapon for keeping you from heaven. It does not appear to be a weapon, but if you consider how you value it and why, you will realize what it must be. So when we put so much emphasis on special relationships, and again, please generalize. It can be romantic, it can be with your parent, it can be with your child. I have friends, their children in this lifetime had a short contract, and those children transitioned, and these people, these parents, their lives absolutely broken. They can't be happy anymore because they have given that special relationship with their child all the power for their joy. And when the child transitioned, their joy went away. In their mind, they decided, I can't be joyful because you're gone. And their child, that soul is on the other side going, ay, 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 ay. You're whole and complete in and of yourself. You don't need me to be happy. But the child, as the soul on the other side, continues to help those who are left behind to try and remember the truth of our wholeness. That's what being on this planet is all about. We've descended. Imagine that this started 7,000 years ago, and we are on our trajectory to return, get out of the insanity of the inverted reality that we've been in, and move out of here because it's time to transcend the insanity. But here it makes it really clear. It's an attempt to make guilty. Very simply, the attempt to make guilty is always directed against God. It's always directed against God because, well, God must not want me to be happy. If it's God's will that this happened for me. We've been conditioned to believe, oh my God, God's in charge of the weather. God's in charge of the stock market. God's in charge of everything. Further attempts to have humanity believe that we are not the powerful beings that we are. Because you see, if we stop blaming God for everything, we'd have to come back to take responsibility for the power that we have. Why? Because we were made in the image of the Creator. The Creator endowed us with the same power to create that the Creator has, except for one. And we've talked about this in so many of my Course in Miracles classes. The Course in Miracles tells us the only power to create that we don't have and it's really logical, is that we didn't create ourselves. God created us. So God created us to create like it, except we can't create ourselves. We're done. We're already made. So what do? Then we create. And because we're here with others, we co-create. And when you co-create from high frequency, everybody has the same freedom. Everybody is seen the same, equal. Everybody's respected to make their own choices. Everybody is treated lovingly. But when you think you're unequal, those who think that I have more power than you attempt to control others and decide what choices of the others can and cannot have. But at the bottom of it all, it's the ego's voice that always, when things don't go my way, it's God's fault. That's where we go. Because even though we blame other people, we blame the government, we blame our mom and dad for the issues, underneath that blame is the awareness that the ego has been lying to us, and it's what's been blocking God. So there's this fear that God's going to punish me. So for me to not recognize, oh my goodness, I've been misusing the power that God gave me. Well, I am just going to, I'm going to blame God. It must be God's fault. But deep down inside, we keep a little bit of that guilt because we know we're the ones doing this to ourselves. And this is the journey of correcting our misperception, cleaning up our ears, opening up our eyes, seeing the truth that is here. There's nothing wrong with us. It's all made up in our head. If you don't agree to that stuff, you return yourself to your rightful place, one with all that is. You find your wholeness, and then you co-create healthy relationships in every way, shape, or form. You have a favorite football team, you enjoy it, but you don't become fanatical. You have a favorite political party, you serve, you help, but you don't, try to kill your neighbor because they don't agree and believe the same thing. Because when we are healthy and whole, we seek to communicate and to have conversations that are always, always in the interest of the greater good for all. Our founding fathers knew that. It said, you people are the ones who the government works for. You people get together and talk amongst each other. You people are the ones who can decide that if the government is not doing what you want them to do, you can replace them or abolish them. All the power is given to the people. God gave the power to the people. And if we could use it appropriately, if we all knew that everybody's whole and complete and we came to conversations with respect. Oh, you don't want to do it this way. Okay, well, I prefer to do it this way. Well, then I respect you. You go your way, I go my way. Oh, you don't want to be in this relationship with me. You want to get a divorce. Okay, well, I wish you the best. I'm sad that we're not going to stay together because I was hoping we'd be together, but if we're not, we're not. I wish you the best because I'm going to be happy because I'm whole and complete. You didn't take anything from me. You took yourself out of this relationship, but I didn't remain. It didn't leave a hole in me. Just my half of the relationship is still my whole self. But we don't do that because we've been conditioned to control one another out of fear, out of blame, and out of this idea that somebody knows better than we do, which is so crazy when we've all been created equal and imagined by God equal. All right, so let me go to the next, this sentence number 3 in that paragraph 2, that's so important. The special love relationship is the ego's chief weapon for keeping you from heaven. If you understand that heaven is peace, heaven is love, heaven is joy, heaven is living in the upper room, in the higher frequency, in the place that top of the mountain where you can see everything. You can't be cheated up here because you can see it all. You've got the bigger vision. Well, when you can see it all and you can see everything is as it should be, you're at peace, you're in heaven, you're happy. So the special love relationship, you're my special team, you're my special partner, you're my special child, is the weapon for keeping us from heaven. Because if my team doesn't win, oh my God, horrible night. It's terrible. I've got to go drink and just get myself drunk because my football team didn't win. Your child commits suicide. Now the rest of your life can be ruined. You will say no to joy for the rest of your life just because your child is not here. And I'm not minimizing that doesn't hurt, but it doesn't have to leave a hole in you. It doesn't. Because the hole is a mental decision to no longer be happy because you don't have something. And that is the chief weapon that the ego uses to make us suffer. Because I don't have that, I am not okay. It's crazy. When you are made whole and complete, so the only thing that can deny the wholeness and the perfection and the joy that's available to each and every one of us is a decision that I am not that. Let me go to paragraph number 3. So the special love relationship is the ego's most boasted gift and one which has the most appeal to those unwilling to relinquish guilt. Well, I'm the special counsel for this organization. I'm the special prosecutor. I'm the special director. I'm the special ambassador. Once we make ourselves the special anything, now we are beholden to that thing that we are special to ensure that we keep it happy. And then if we don't do our part, we're going to feel guilty. And if they don't do their part, we're going to make sure that they feel guilty because we've already decided that the specialness is what contributes to my happiness. Instead of I'm happy with you or with you or with you, it doesn't matter who I'm with. My happiness is not dependent on anybody else because I'm not going to give up my joy to make you have more power over me when God created us equal. And if I know that God created us equal, why would I make myself less than because you're not here? Because you fire me, because you take a privilege away. I'm not going to make myself less than. That's insanity. But that's what the ego does. So it goes on to say that the dynamics of the ego are clearest here. For counting on the attraction of this offering, the fantasies that center around it are often quite overt. Here, they are usually judged to be acceptable and even natural. No one considers it bizarre to love and hate together. And even those who believe that hate is sin merely feel guilty, but do not correct it. This is the natural condition of the separation. And those who learn that it is not natural at all seem to be the unnatural ones. Yeah, we sound crazy and unnatural, like what's wrong with you when we recognize that you cannot put love and hate together and think that that's somehow okay. But the ego, that's the dynamics of the ego, really clear. If you're on my team, we like you. You leave our team, we hate you. How can love and hate coexist? How can you love and hate the same person? Because the ego loves when you are doing what I want you to do for me, but I'm going to hate you when you're not doing what I need you to do for me that I'm unwilling to do for myself. So right here, I told you I was going to tie this up with politics, specifically with this whole thing with the leaking of the judges overturning Roe v. Wade. So in this country, of course, this is everywhere, but I'm going to focus on this country for the example. We have been conditioned for hundreds of years to pick one party, one side or the other. This side is going to get us these things. This is the special team. These are the liberals, and they're going to give you your freedoms. And this side is a special team, and these are the conservatives, and they're going to give you your freedoms. Well, here you have the freedom to do this, this, and that. Here you got the freedom to do this, this, and that. And then if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, why do we have two different sides offering us freedoms when both sides have limitations to what they decide is freedom and is not? So there's a specialness here, but you can't have that specialness over here. And there's a specialness here that you can't have it over there. So in the insanity where we literally have bought into picking one side and making that side special, and that side completes me and lets me be happy, we have been conditioned to fear the other side, to hate the other side. And if you're on this side and you don't agree to everything, well, you're going to be hated on this side. But if you don't agree to them and you're on that side, of course, that justifies the hate. So we allow ourselves to be loving beings, which is natural, but at the same time carry a lot of hate and justify it. So as I'm looking at the insanity of this whole pro-choice thing, it's so much deeper than abortion, because it goes to the heart of, if God created us free, why do we need a Supreme Court, a handful of people to decide what the rest get to do? Why not go directly to God, who created us free, gave us free will? We have been created. I mean, this is in all the religious texts. We have free will. What the hell is the free will good if we're not free to will whatever we want to will for ourselves? Well, that's it right there. We're not free to will for ourselves because we have decided that it is okay for others to will for us. We've created the authority problem. Instead of all of us operating whole and complete, knowing that we are all brothers and sisters created equal, endowed with the same inalienable rights, everybody here would operate in unity if everybody was doing what they thought was best for them, in a place of trusting that everybody else will take care of themselves. But you can't have specialness in order to have trust and healthy relationships. Once I need you to make me feel okay, to make me feel loved, to make me feel safe, to make me feel special, now I have to control your behavior. Now, if you go do something that I don't want you to do and it ruins my day, I got to let you know and punish you. But because love and hate go together as the weapon the ego uses. So, oh yeah, I love you, but not when you're doing this. How many of us as parents have done that to our children? I am not happy with your behavior. You know, I love you dearly, but this is not acceptable to me. Because we have accepted that somebody knows better and they get to decide what is okay for me and not okay for me, we have created the authority problem, and we've given people in positions of power, usually like one person to millions of people. So a 0.00001% gets to decide for a whole bunch for millions of people. And if we move into this whole crazy ass new world order, then we've got 0.00001 deciding for 8 billion people. Now that's insanity. If we are all one and we are all created equal, why do we need any one person or two people or 10 to decide for the rest? Only because we've been indoctrinated into specialness. They are special because they got elected. They're special because they're a movie star. They're special because, you know, they looked at me and, you know, batted their eye at me. They're special because they've got something I don't have. All of that made up, complete illusion. So the title of this is The Choice of Completion, means that we've got to choose to complete ourselves again. We've got to come back into our wholeness. We got to come back into the truth of who we are. If we don't, we will continue to perpetuate the stupidity of this whole pro-choice nonsense, because, and here's where the pro-choice, yes, we all should be pro-choice. We all should have the the choice to decide what it is that we want to do. But that choice is only going to be correct and good for everybody when it is in alignment with God's will for us. And God wills for us life, liberty, and happiness. I am not one of these people that is pro-abortion or pro-life. I am right in the middle. Only you know what is best for you. But what I am completely against is for anybody to say, my body, my choice for this special group, but not your body, your choice when you're on that side. Because if we are going to grant choice, we've got to make it across the board. And humanity right now is showing us the places where we have double standards, where we have special love and special hate. Oh, the people that I love, well, you can have your body, your choice. That's okay for you. But the people that I hate, no, you don't get your body, your choice. You get your body, my choice. I get to decide if you're going to have something injected that you don't want injected. I get to decide that for you. So what we're seeing more clearly right now is this insanity, the mind that is deluded, assuming that one group knows better than the other. And it is equally as insane for those who are pro-life to go around and saying, well, my body, my choice, I'm not going to inject something in my body, but you can have the choice to have an abortion if that's what you want. Equally as insane. And the fact that this is now something that possibly could get overturned at the Supreme Court is actually a really good thing, because this shouldn't be at the Supreme Court level. We shouldn't have a handful of people deciding things for the rest of us, especially something that's not even in the founding documents. It's not even in the Constitution. The Constitution is a document to me that was channeled, aspects of it. And in the Declaration of Independence, when it states that all men are created equal, all men and women created equal, that's truth. All endowed by their creator with the same inalienable rights, that's truth. To life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So you're eternal. You can do with your temporary life whatever you want to do. You have freedom. You were created free. Liberty is yours, granted to you by God, not the Constitution. The Constitution simply states the facts that if you don't believe it from the Bible, which states it, you just have to look for that. If you don't believe it from the Bible and you're not believing it on your own, maybe you're atheist, maybe you're a different religion that, made up some other things that are not accurate according to what God says for all of us, then it's in the Constitution, it's in the Declaration of Independence, so that it's clear. So that those who are the managers of what we have here in this country have a document so that they can manage to uphold those truths that are true for all. But because we operate with misinformation about who we are and about what God is, then conveniently these things get not talked about, because they're not reminding us about the truth of who we are, and groups get created, sides get taken, and conveniently, the people are pitted against each other because they don't have the eyes to see or the ears to hear the bullshit that is being sold to us. So we stay in this special relationship against one another. I'm only liking the ones in my group and this group. So in your own little groups, nobody's talking. And then on top of that, you've got the understanding by those who participate in the perpetuation of these crazy games. They use all means to perpetuate the division. That's why the dynamics of the ego is to keep us at war. It loves to keep us at war, so it uses the media. And then if somebody speaks truth, well, that's misinformation, or that's a conspiracy person, or that's a domestic terrorist. We're going to go after the people who speak the truth. Because the thing that the ego doesn't want us to do is to sit down and ask, why do you believe what you believe? Because to ask, why do you believe that? As within, so without. Hardest thing to do to question yourself when you think you're right. Hardest thing to do to answer to another person why you believe what you believe. Because the ego only sees things from a perspective of attack. My life is in danger. You don't like me. You don't love me. You didn't answer my call. You didn't select me to be on the Supreme Court. You didn't vote for me. You must not love me. So it's always the ego has us always in an immature, childish state of fear. And I need you to change your mind so that I get to be okay, because I'm not mature enough to find out why do you believe what you believe, and maybe I can change my mind. Maybe I can expand my awareness of what I am holding to be true. I need to have courage to remember it's not going to break me to have people with different opinions, because we are eternal brothers and sisters and we can't change that. It's how God created us. We're made of the same substance. We're made of the same clay. We're made of the same stardust. It doesn't matter what analogy you want to use, what metaphor, we are all made of the same energy. The same stuff that's in me is in you. And at the core of all of it pulses the truth of our equality, even if we express ourselves differently. And in that equality is the unity that we would all feel, that activates the incredible joy and peace and love that we are. Because when we know that we are all one, who is there to be against anybody? There's just simply different opinions. And like radio stations on a radio, you just pick the one you want to listen to. But how many of us hear the radio station at 93.7? Somebody's talking about, this thing that they absolutely are for and you don't. How many of us just destroy the radio because we hear something we don't like? We just turn the channel. We just go to another station. But we haven't learned to listen to one another, because we have been taught that if you don't believe what I believe, then I have to hate you. We've fallen into the hands of the ego so perfectly. We're doing exactly what the ego wants us to do. And when you are reacting, you have no idea that you're not in control of your own self. You've given the ego total power. And the ego is the most immature aspect of ourselves. So in essence, we give our 2-year-old, our 3-year-old, our wounded little child power to run our lives, and we think we're adults. Just watch what's going on in the world today. All of these leaders acting like children, because they're all in fear, trying to control the world, make sure everybody is okay so that they can be okay. But they'll never be okay, because there's a rising call for us to awaken and reclaim our rightful place as whole and complete beings, sovereign, completely sovereign, not beholden to somebody else telling us what we can and cannot do, when God gave us not only the inalienable right of liberty, but decreed that we are to use that liberty to serve humanity. And we use that liberty for expansion. If not, we atrophy. And guess what happens when we start atrophying? We all go down, because there is nobody, no leader, no Klaus Schwab who stands at the point of this crazy pyramid. Do you think he's going to survive and have this planet to himself? Eventually, he may just get rid of all the people that are in his new world order so he can be the ruler. How lonely would that be to have everything? Do you think he's going to be happy when he owns everything? Even though he tells us that we'll be happy when we own nothing? It's because the mind is so disconnected from the heart. There is only one choice that we can make, and that's to seek completion within ourselves. When you know you're complete, you will stop being whiny, We stop being just pawing on other people and making other people responsible and blaming and judging. When I listen to these, I mean, I was just watching. I like to watch the news from time to time to see the insanity because it's actually very entertaining. I'm watching all of these liberals, my holy liberal brothers and sisters. And some of these leaders, women and men, oh my God, you're taking the freedom away from women. You know, my body, my choice, their body, their choice. But these are the same people that just a couple of months ago, oh, it may be your body, but it's not your choice to whether you're going to have a jab or not. You're going to get the jab because I'm saying you're going to, because I'm the one in charge. I'm the boss of you. And it's like, how hysterical. Their minds are so confused. They don't understand what choice is. They don't understand that choice comes with liberty for all. And they will never be happy unless they are always blocking those that they consider special hate to ensure that they don't get what they want. Because if they get what they want, then they feel like they lost. So this group that is thinking, we're going to lose our ability to go out and have abortions. You know, this whole thing about abortions, there's so much more there. Because the whole need for abortion is because this world does not understand life. It doesn't value life. It doesn't recognize the importance of life. So we have been desensitized into taking life. So these people that are talking about, we're taking away the right to choose to kill. I've had abortions. I've had 2 of them. So I absolutely get that I appreciated having the choice to do what I had to do. But at the same time, I would never tell somebody that they have to put something in their body that they don't want to put in there. So I'm at a place that I understand choice, but I'm also at a place that I understand life. And what humanity is in the midst of understanding right now is 2 things. We have dropped in consciousness. We have descended into insanity. And when you are insane, you don't understand what life is. If you value life, you wouldn't rape somebody. If you value life, you wouldn't have sex with just anybody. If you valued life, you would value yourself. You would know your wholeness. You would share yourself in total and complete grace with another. It would be a dance so beautiful because there would be a knowing that one holy being is in the presence of another. But because we create special relationships, we think it's okay. I'm special, but you're not. My body's special, but that baby is not. My body is special, but that woman I'm raping or that child, that boy I'm raping is not. So because we have this warped sense of specialness, because we don't know our wholeness, we've been abusing others. And then we need the Supreme Court to give us permission to have special laws with some crazy demented people that we select or elect or get appointed or whatever, deciding for the rest of us. So the whole thing is all fucked up. So how do we come back to know the truth of who we are? We must come back to understand ourselves as God created us. Because until we appreciate the magnificence of the completion of what we are, we cannot understand life. We cannot understand why everybody has to be given the right to choose what they want. Because if they don't have the right to choose, somebody's going to have to police them so that they don't choose the thing we don't want them to choose. It's a whole lot of work. That's crazy making. Let me keep reading here. So I'm in paragraph 3 still. Sentence number 5. So this is just speaking to the fact that nobody considers bizarre that hate and love go together. We've all bought into that. And somehow that's become normal. So this is the natural condition of separation, because we're separate from our own inner knowing. We're separate from each other. We're separate from the truth, and we are operating in insanity. And those who learn that it is not natural at all seem to be the unnatural or crazy ones. So once you decide it's either love or fear, it's either freedom or bondage, it's either a choice for all or choice for none. You can't have it both ways. Then we go on to read in sentence 6. So for this world is the opposite of heaven, being made to be its opposite, and everything here takes a direction exactly opposite of what is true. This world, as we humans have made it, because God gave us a beautiful planet, and we humans have made up the laws, the rules, the regulations that the Course in Miracles refers to as the world. So the world that we have made, where we got a few crazy people, just because they're billionaires who think that they're the new world order and they're going to run the world and tell everybody what to do, have gone opposite of the truth. They have gone into pure insanity. But because we thought, because we were conditioned to think that those crazy people were the ones who knew the truth and were right, and they're the authority, we have been marching like sheep to the slaughter, waiting for somebody to one day decide, you know what, you're not special enough to me. I actually hate you. You're taking up too much oxygen. You're taking up too much food. You're using up too much of my beaches. I think I need to get rid of you. And because I'm the authority and I hate you, I get to do that. Holy cow, we have bought into this insanity, which is exactly what we must wake up from. And we will wake up from it when we begin to question double standards. How can I say, I want my choice, but you can't have your choice? How can I say, I love you, but I hate you too? How can I say, you're somebody that I care about, but I'm angry at you and I'm going to punish you? How can you say both things? Well, we can, because our mind is confused, but to wake up is to clear the mind and come into one way of thinking only. Think only with love, think only with wholeness, with liberty, with choice, with God. And this goes on to say, so in heaven, where the meaning of love is known, here we know what love is. That's why nobody's trying to, nobody creates special relationships. Nobody is controlling anybody. This is the land of truly freedom. And when you have that level of freedom, you rise to the occasion because you acknowledge how precious this life is and you want to use it for its fullest in service to humanity. So in heaven, where the meaning of love is known, love is the same as union, collaboration, co-creation. I wouldn't want to say that you can't have something that I think I deserve. There is a recognition that all are equal. That's what heaven is. That's why in heaven, nobody kills each other, because there's no fear of one another, because there's no hierarchy that you're going to take something from me that I can't get. It's all equal. All right. So here on Crazy Planet, where the ego rules, here, where the illusion of love is accepted in love's place, love is perceived as separation and exclusion. I'm hurting because you don't love me. Or you will be better off because I love you. Or vice versa. Crazy, crazy insanity. Paragraph 4 says, it is in the special relationship born of the hidden wish for special love from God that the ego's hatred triumphs. The ego's hatred triumphs. The ego hates you. Ego hates me. That's why it talked to me into doing lots of crazy things. Talked me into doing things that I ended up regretting. That ego didn't want me happy. So it had me break up relationships that actually could have been wonderful. It had me get into relationships that turned into being disasters. But because I used all of it as a classroom, And I began to understand my lessons and see, okay, I forgave myself where, I was listening to the ego, and I could have been listening to the Holy Spirit, but I didn't listen to the Holy Spirit. So I got a lesson. That's my consolation prize. When we begin to listen to the voice for God, we begin to realize that the only way to fully triumph is to be happy and let others be happy, to live and to let live, to operate in a level of freedom that is equal to the level of freedom others get. Otherwise, the ego triumphs, and it will always operate with special hate. And you will always have to be on one side or the other. And the happiness can only be short-lived. The joy of this whole Roe v. Wade, 50 years. Oh, that group had 50 years of freedom to do whatever they needed to do. We've had the freedom all along. We've had the freedom to choose all along. We don't need a Supreme Court to give us the freedoms that God granted us. But because we made up all these crazy rules and we have been promoting this absolutely insane idea of who we are, we needed somebody to give us permission to have freedom. And guess what? Now they're going to take it away, because anything that the ego gives is not sustainable. I am all for, absolutely all for, a woman, a man having safe procedures, regardless of the procedures that they want to have. But I am also of the knowing that there are lots of procedures, the majority of them, we wouldn't need to have if we learn to value ourselves first, if we learn to value our bodies, if we learn to value life. It really is a beautiful time to be alive, to witness that we are seeing the undoing of everything the ego made. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be gentle. Watching systems tumble, because the ego is going to take revenge. Those who are in power that have been serving their ego, they're going to take revenge on everybody and anybody that doesn't follow their way peacefully. They're actually taking revenge on everybody that does follow their way, even if they do it peacefully, because the ego is never happy. It can want something, it can want someone, it can want a promotion, it can want, this house, this status. And once it gets it, it cannot be happy, because ego is a block to happiness. It's going to start thinking of the things that are not okay with it. It's going to start thinking of the things to hate about it. And the only way to ever experience true love is to be at peace with what anybody chooses to do, because we are one with one another. And your joy is my joy if I enjoy what you're doing. But your joy cannot be my joy if I decide that you are taking it from me. Crazy. But this is what we've been doing. The rest of this paragraph says, sentence number 2, paragraph 4, for the special relationship is the renunciation of the love of God and the attempt to secure for the self the specialness that he denied. God, you didn't give me this lover. You didn't give me that promotion. You didn't give me that, beautiful house that I wanted. Somebody else got it. So I don't want to be happy and have real love, because I want to be angry at you for taking that from me. Crazy. It is essential to the preservation of the ego that you believe this specialness is not hell but heaven. For the ego would never have you see the separation could only be loss, being the one condition in which heaven could not be. Let me read that again. For the ego would never have you see that separation could only be loss. If I feel that I'm separate from God and I'm being punished over here, I'm separate from the Republican Party or separate from the Liberal Party, the ego doesn't want us to see that that's a loss, because in that separation, we're losing the opportunity for communication. In that separation, I hate you because you don't love me. We lose the opportunity for oneness, for unity, for talking about staying friends at least. But I am going to separate from you. I am going to have my special group that I love them. They're special. But that requires that your mind believe things that are not true. That requires that your mind operate in delusion, that there's something wrong with you, there's something wrong with them, that you're not whole and complete, that you're better, that they're lesser. You'll always stay in fear. Because if you think you're better, then you're always afraid those who want to get something from you. If you think you're lesser, you're always afraid you're never going to have enough. There is no rest whatsoever for a mind that is deluded and has made the ego its master. I'm going to read the first sentence in paragraph 5 as the last sentence that I'll read from A Course in Miracles. To everyone, heaven is completion. We all know that. We all go, oh my God, when we die, we go to heaven. That's it. We get to the kingdom. We're done. We're complete. We're back with God. But the thing that the Course in Miracles wants us to understand is that we can have that completion here now, because the completion is actually ours. We're just denying it. And we're only denying it because we bought into what a bunch of other people have told us that allows us to believe things that are not true. We're one. There are no Republicans and liberals. There are no rich and poor. There's just a bunch of children of God pretending that they're not one. That's it. And the more of us that remember this truth, the more of us will create the completion of heaven on earth now. The completion of heaven on earth begins right here. I've got to find my wholeness and my completion first. Because once I find my completion, I stop making other people responsible for my game of special love and special hate. And when I am not making others responsible, I actually have freed them to do whatever it is that they want to do, how they want to do it, when they need to do it. And I go about my business, minding my life, experiencing my freedom, and enjoying my happiness. But for that, I must understand that, as the Course says, love is unity. To know God is to be one with all that is. And if I don't have that understanding, let me see, where's that one word? I was going to go back to it and read that, just that one special word. Anyways, I'll find it later. But if we don't get to the place that we release everybody else from being responsible for our happiness, we'll never do what it takes to find our own core happiness. Because as long as we think that it's other people's responsibility to make us happy, to make us safe, to make us somebody, to make us complete, we will never look inside. We'll continue to blame out there. We'll continue to beg out there. Love me, want me, whatever, keep me safe. All of that is a distraction from coming inside and finding our wholeness. And to do that, we have to have the courage to question what we believe. Because if it does not honor that we are all created equal, if it does not honor life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for everybody freely, then we really don't know who we are. And if we don't know who we are, we will fall for what other people tell us is true for us. And then when we are operating in that idea that is insanity, we will think that we have choices. I can choose this, and I'm with this group, and this is my choice. But it won't be your choice. It'll be what you have settled for because somebody said it's what you can do. Unfortunately, the illusion of choice is becoming quite evident, because until you align with God and find your freedom within, you're going to be easily, what's the word, coerced into following some special group's idea of freedom, not knowing that to follow somebody else's idea of freedom is bondage. So that's what came through me today. Pretty amazing. I'm like going, whoa, the frequency of all of that moving through me. Pretty incredible. Let me look at my notes here. Yes. When we let ourselves hurt, that's pretty selfish, because it's saying, I'm going to be in pain and have you be the one who is responsible for that. And when we do that, it's selfish because it's the ego that wins. So unmute yourselves. I want to hear, did you get any nuggets? Did you have any ahas? Is there something you maybe didn't agree with? Please unmute yourself and share with me. I want to hear what you have to say before we wrap this conversation up. And remember, I am going to be, it may take me a little while, maybe a month or a little longer. I'm going to be moving these things to my Patreon channel, which is a membership channel. And just so that I can receive some support, because I am entitled to financial abundance. And I'm going to have minimal memberships, $9 a month, to be able to receive these recordings. And you know, they say that when people have to put a little skin in the game, that they're more invested, so maybe more people will share it, and it just works out that way. Plus, it'll be easier for me to put everything in one place and not have it all over the place. But please share any thoughts, any comments. Anybody get any nuggets from today? Unmute yourselves, please. And if not, we can just complete today's conversation. Thank you so much for coming and joining me. I am always so grateful to have these opportunities to share with you. And then with that, we can complete.
Oh, Laina.
Oh, yes, Miss Angela.
Hey, I loved today. It was just such a beautiful, it was such a beautiful 30,000 foot or higher kind of perspective. But I was wondering, as I think about some of the things in the world, you think about the human trafficking, for instance, and how so many of us feel like, oh my gosh, something's got to be done. We have to do something. How do you, when you talk about the free will and everybody's choice to do, whatever they are feeling is right. I mean, obviously there are people who are doing things they feel are okay that probably are not part of, the greater good for all. And how do you sort of reconcile where you make a judgment about those things or take action about those things, and stay in acceptance that, everybody has free will and that's just the game we're playing down here?
That's a great question. And it is what we all have to grapple with until we come to the place that we find the truth inside of us. And for me, that truth is, yes, we all choose to come in, but we all choose to come in knowing that we have brothers and sisters who are going to uphold what is true for all of us, that we were all created equal and that we are all designed to experience life, liberty, and happiness. So a child who is being human trafficked that's not liberty. Now, did they choose to come in? Yes, they chose to come in and have ended up in that experience, but they chose to come into a planet that is filled with those who remember the truth and will do whatever it takes to ensure that their rights are honored, given to us by God. So what we have on the planet is lots of different people in all kinds of different areas who are standing for those particular people who are being oppressed. And that's in their heart. That's their purpose. They came in, it's like they were designed to drop in and help this group, and some incarnated and dropped in to help this group. So we each have the calling that is ours to serve wherever we're supposed to serve. We can't do all of it. That's why there's billions of us here, so that we can find each other and move into the areas where we can be of service. What we all have to do is to hold the paradox, kind of hold these two things that are totally opposite. And that is not judge the choices, be they the choice to be a bully or a victim, not hold those choices in judgment, but rather acknowledge that just because we choose to do something, it doesn't give us the right to take from anybody that which God granted to each and every one of us. So for me, I am not out there rescuing children. So therefore, I don't spend time judging the victimizers. I'm not going to spend time just in total rage for what they're doing. I am recognizing, okay, that they're playing out a contract, but so is the person that is rescuing. That person is doing something that is being moved within them to do, because they're listening to the voice for God when they do it for the greater good of all. They do it because that is what needs to be done. Some people are doing it in being in service to humanity in the medical world. You and I follow a lot of the people who are not out there bashing those who have been greedy and who have been, doing some nefarious things, but rather they're just standing up for the information. There are those who, like Elon Musk, to whatever degree people may think he's a good guy or not, opening up a platform so that more people can have the ability to have the liberty to speak. So everybody gets to do whatever it is that they're supposed to do. What we cannot do, because it just shows where we are, is to judge where everybody else is, but rather move to the place that acknowledges it is not okay for the life, liberty, and happiness of every being to not be upheld, because we were created equal. So you get your mind to stop judging, you get your heart to open up and recognize that even with our prayers that those who are here to do work that is tedious and dangerous, that they get to do it with quickly and safely. So the mind and the heart have got to come together to begin the work of recognizing that we're powerful beings. Even with our thoughts and our prayers, we literally can do a lot. And at the same time, stop supporting the institutions that perpetuate the divisions, that perpetuate the insanity. We stop supporting the education systems that fill the minds of children with things that are nonsense. We stop participating in these divisive political groups. We stand for corporations that care about the greater good of all, the planet included. I've changed the way that I eat. I've changed so much of where I shop. I changed where I put my money, including the institutions, pulling it from national, going to local. I've become so much more aware. And yet each time that I make a decision to not support something that I consider low vibration, I don't do it with judgment, but I do it with joy that I am supporting something of higher vibration. So I can make that decision in service without the judgment. And the people that are currently suffering in horrendous ways, be it from hunger, be it from just the human trafficking, sexual abuse, organ harvesting. There are horrendous things that are going on in this world. I spend as much time as I possibly can in gratitude that they are doing what they are doing to call our attention to the things that are absolutely not okay. And from that place, because I can't go rescue all of them, I know that I am in total, complete awe that we are so free. We get to pick to have life experiences like that. So I go back to the freedom that God has given each and every one of us. And in that place, I spend more time. How am I going to use my freedom? How can my recognition of this freedom be in service to those who are calling for assistance the most? But my ears have to be hearing, my eyes have to be seeing clearly, so that I'm not deluded by all the smokes and screens that are being used in this world to keep us divided and picking sides. I want to be in service without picking sides. So it's a big question. It's a wonderful question. And all I can say is keep coming closer to God, and you will know exactly what is yours to do. We can't save the whole world, but we first have to save ourselves from the insanity and then let God use us in whatever way God sees makes most sense, wherever it is that we are.
Yeah, it seems like sometimes the best we can do is just take small steps that feel higher vibration, because some of these issues are so complex and it's not entirely clear, you know.
Yes. So there's a lot of discerning, and we're going to be here probably a couple hundred years before we correct all of the craziness that's taking 7,000, if not more years to get us to this point, or thousands of years. So the more that we clear the path to listening to God, the more that we will be able to be in service to the greater good of humanity. So it's just the fact that you're willing to ask these questions just shows how unplugged you are from the matrix. And now it's just really, God, what would you have me do? Because the work continues. The work continues to detach ourselves from this world having power over us, to God being the power within us, so that we can bring about the corrections in the world. But not be.
I'm grateful for you, and I'm glad you're monetizing your content, because it has tremendous value, and I for one will be happy to contribute.
Thank you. Love that. Love that. Love that. Making it super affordable. I don't want anybody to feel like they've got to pay so much to receive whatever it is that I share. Anyways, thank you all so much for being here today. And I will see you all next Wednesday. I'll be in Colorado then. So I will see you from a nice chilly place. Today is nice and warm here in Georgia. And next week I'll be freezing. It's snowing today. My daughter was sending me videos of snow. Hey, Miss Cat.
Hi. It makes me cold to think about it.
I know. Did you get a nugget today?
There are no days that I don't get nuggets. It was just like something you said quickly and in passing, but I wrote it down. It says freedom or bondage. It just hit. Sometimes you say these things and they just hit me. And so that's my choice. That's the choice. Do I want to be free of the ego and connect more with God, or do I want to stay in bondage to the ego? So these are huge. So that's another thing that helps me deal with when I start getting off track. It's like, okay, I can be free here, or I can go into this. So I love that. Appreciate that.
You know what bondage is? Bondage is nothing more than a commitment to suffering.
Mm.
And it's self-imposed, because if it's coming from a thought in your head, it's self-imposed.
Yeah.
And that's all that it is. Bondage is a commitment to suffering by
Yeah.
listening to a voice that doesn't care about love. It's really, it thinks it does, but it's more concerned about being right. Because, love is freedom. We free ourselves and others. Love is knowing that there's more than enough. Love says, okay, if not this one, then another one. Because there's no limit. That's why when we all move to the higher frequencies, nobody is going to want to be in charge of anybody else. Nobody's going to want to rule anybody else, because that's bondage. Now we got to be in charge of making sure you do what I want you to do. That's not love. Love says, you go do what you want to do, be happy. And in that freedom, there's peace, because everybody will do something that comes from their heart, and it will never hurt another.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I totally get that.
Totally, totally. I know we're moving that direction more and more. Well, thank you all so much. I am so grateful for you, and I love you all. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Laina.
Bye-bye, love.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laina.
Absolutely. Bye. Thank you for being here.